So we are live now.
A very good afternoon to all of you. We welcome you to this afternoon webinar by Macmillan Education, a global education company operating in India for more than 128 years and in 120 countries worldwide. Macmillan Education is advancing learning by working closely with teachers, students, and institutions. Our printed books, digital resources, learning management solution, assessments, workshops, seminars, contests are all designed keeping the needs of the learners and the teachers at the core. India is in the grip of a pandemic, which is testing all of us. It is important that all of us, especially educators, be stronger mentally and physically to be pillars of support for students and their own families. We are also aware that keeping oneself strong during crisis is extremely important. With a little support, people can build resilience and stay calm and peaceful. Macmillan Education and Fortis Healthcare have curated today's webinar themed as Strengthening Self in Times of Crisis for teachers, and our expert speaker is Dr. Sameer Parekh, Director Fortis National Mental Health Program, Fortis Healthcare. Dr. Sameer Parekh is an eminent psychiatrist and has played a significant role in enhancing the image and reach of mental health across the country, especially in the school space. He is amongst the most well-known experts of the country on mental health issues. He has also curated a mental health curriculum, which is so needed in today's classrooms. Over to you, Dr. Parekh.
Times of crisis, right? Before we talk about how we as individuals can do what we can do, let's first, with all humility, accept that these are times of crisis. Denial is never a mature defense mechanism. We accept the fact that we have a mammoth task, a Herculean effort. We are in the middle of a wave that's of an invisible, unseen enemy that's not left anyone untouched. That's our truth. And I think it's very important that we understand this. We also need to understand that when something so significant happens in the world, individual reactions will also happen. It's natural, isn't it? That if I feel anxious, I feel worried about the well-being of my loved ones, anxious about what happens next, worried about the uncertainty that the future brings in. I'm really concerned about children, adolescents, youth, worried about their education, their exams and further studies, their jobs. I'm worried about the senior citizens at home who've been inside for over a year plus. I'm worried about the impact on the economy and how individuals are trying to cope up with it. All these worries are natural. And add on to that, with the numbers rising in of the illness, the worry of, would I get the treatment? Would I be able to find a bed or medication? These are all natural, normal reactions. Before we get into any other component of what we should do with it, we should accept this, that this stress, this reaction, this experience is normal. Because it is normal, we now need to also figure out what best we can do with it. But I don't want you to abnormalize a normal reaction. Because sometimes we overuse words. Distress is not a disorder. And in times of distress, you don't always need an expert. You may at times, but more often than not, you would not need an expert. You would need to deal with it in a manner which you can within your capacity. And that's something we need to understand first and foremost. The second aspect that we need to understand is the impact is on everybody. Intensity may vary, but we are in the same boat. All of us are in the same boat. And this, because I know all of you listening here, a lot of you actually, I'm told, are educationists. When students come and talk to you about these times and their worries, remind them the boat is the same. So if you're a teacher or a parent of a grade 12 student, or if you are a 12th grade student and listening to this, don't think it's about you alone. It's about every 12th class student across the length and breadth of our country who is unsure about what happens next. And the right way to deal with it is, they've told June 1, they'll tell us, I prepare as to my exams are in June. Take them, head on, keep on studying with all positivity, all motivation. If it so gets delayed or changed or something happens, well, not in my control, I'll focus on my control. And that's how you shape it up. Educationists also need to appreciate that by most standards, you are frontline workers. Because what you've done, what Indian educational system, and especially what teachers have done, is remarkable in the last 1 year. None of us has been trained into doing online classes. I mean, I have hardly had before this entire pandemic any exposure of, let's say, telemedicine or taking community awareness through the digital interface. We've all adapted, but the remarkable way in which teachers have adapted to ensure that we are able to maintain a sense of normalcy in school-age children, I think we all need to have a lot of gratitude here, because it wasn't easy. It was a tough one. The transition was sudden. Most of us were absolutely unprepared. And right now we are 1 year into it, which is remarkable. So before anybody allows you or you yourself question, have I been good enough or not? Have I been productive enough or not? Have I done my best or not? You've done better than best. You've done remarkable. Here you don't compare to the pre-COVID physical education time. You can't compare it to that. There is no comparison here. The fact that we were able to do this, the fact that we continued to do the best that we could in these situations is remarkable. It speaks about resilience. It speaks about motivation and commitment. Generations to come will remember this, especially all these young students. When they grow up 20 years, 30 years down the lane, their children and grandchildren will be hearing stories. And once upon a time, I used to take my first period in my pajamas, half awake, half asleep, and I would wake up when the teacher would ask a surprise attendance. And that's the memories that we want young people to have. So educationists have played a remarkable role. In my eyes, you've been frontline workers who've taken care of our most special segment of our society, children. And I think that's something we all need to celebrate as to how the teaching community has come around. And in that, we also need to have empathy with our gratitude, because a teacher is also an individual in a house. A teacher also has family, friends, has the same anxieties that you and I have around the pandemic, has the same loved ones who may be falling ill or be hospitalized, who may experience the same loss. All of those experiences, and at the same time to empower children with positivity, empower children with knowledge, supply that support system and guidance and mentoring. Now, that's why teachers are special. And that's why I treat all educationists as frontline workers. That's the key premise we all need to have. So if you are a parent, let's thank the teacher community. If you're a student, by the time you'll be my age, you'll remember this and you'll have so much gratitude that you cannot even imagine. Because imagine a world where you had absolutely nothing to do, no classes, no online classes, no little bit of homework, no nothing. It's been a year. Imagine how it would have been. So, what is positive, we appreciate it. What is negative, we fight it. What we can do, we do to the best of our ability. What is beyond our control, we humbly accept it. That's the hallmark of the ideal coping skills. So how do you strengthen your own self in these times of crisis? By recognizing that you are a self. You may do a lot of selfless tasks. You may have a lot of altruism when you work, but you are a self, and the self needs to be taken care of as well. Because when the self will have a pinprick, it will bleed. When the self will have a loss, it will hurt. So what you do, you try and ensure that in these given difficult circumstances, internally, you need to continue to feel hope, optimism, and you keep building on your resilience. This I say from a self and societal point of view to the teachers, that we need you to be hopeful. We need you to keep working on your resilience. We need you to be optimistic, because children talk to you every day. And you are passing this optimism to children. So yes, you take care of yourself. How do you do that? To me, the biggest strength in these times, and I've been saying this for quite a while, it is support system. Together we can. There is only one way. I was talking the other day with students, and we were talking about how do you break the chain of the virus? How do you break the chain of COVID? Of course, COVID appropriate behavior. But how do you ensure that COVID appropriate behavior? By making a human chain of connectedness and responsibility, by taking care of yourself. So your self-care starts by COVID appropriate behavior. COVID appropriate behavior in subparts. Of course, the mask, the sanitization, the physical distance, non-negotiable. You know that better than anybody else. Appropriate behavior in terms of taking self-care so that you are positive. How do you do that? If you are struggling with something, share it with somebody. If you are worried, talk to someone. Unmute yourself. Never bottle it up. Unmute yourself. You share it with someone. You ensure your family time you're able to find during the course of the day. You spend time with your loved ones. You reach out to your connections. You spend quality time doing video calls, doing audio calls, doing text, but you do that so that you feel connected with your own support system as well. Here, I will add one more angle to the support system, which is your colleagues. I've believed that in these times, or in the modern era, not just these times, in the modern era, most of us spend a significant time at work. Most of us, significant engagement at work. And the only way to ensure that we function to the optimum with a sense of joy and motivation is to have work friends. If you don't have work friends, work becomes stressful, burnout is more likely. So what you do is your support system, you strengthen that as well. Continue talking to your colleagues, your juniors, your seniors, your people whom you used to meet, do your own interactions, keep doing that. So COVID appropriate behavior as the usual norms, COVID appropriate behavior of self-care, which starts with support system. COVID appropriate behavior of self-care is also taking care of your physical health. A bit of exercise, stay within, but do it. Stay within indoors, but do it. Yoga, pranayama, meditation, relaxation. Lots of evidence of exploring creative interests give pleasure, a sense of comfort. It's a mindfulness experience for most people. I strongly urge read, write, listen to music. Pick up whatever works for you, maybe all of it. Plants, whatever works for you, but you must do it. Your me time is the way you take care of yourself. The me time may not be several hours, and that's life. But in between spurts of your work, you find some me time so that we don't risk any exhaustion or burnout for yourself. And moving on to that, from that, COVID appropriate behavior as a role model. What do? Compassion. Every time you have a class with students, make sure you ask about how they are doing, even if it takes 10 minutes, so be it. How are people doing? Ask them to share stories of positivity and resilience. Yesterday, I started on our Fortis Mental Health Instagram page a series of stories of positivity, where we are asking people to come and share in these difficult times how people have helped them and it's made a difference. Somehow we are also preoccupied by what people have not done right. And yes, a lot of people have not done right, but most people have been remarkable support systems for each other. We need to keep sharing those stories. You want to hear, share with them, join us 9 p.m. every evening, and we'll listen to some inspirational stories of positivity and optimism, which will bring hope, bring resilience inside us. So what you do, you continue to have that compassion and that hope, and you pass it along to students by having these interactions. At the same time, when you have a student who has experienced any kind of loss, spend time, be there, be there. Your strengthening of the self is also about how you take care of children, because yourself, the core of yourself, of an educationist, is of a nurturer. The more you nurture, the more the energy you experience out of positivity, because you know you've done something so significant, where you are shaping lives and young lives that are struggling, and when you support them, shape them, that shapes the future. So that also is a part of the strengthening that you do. And yes, you counsel children when it comes to their difficulties and uncertainties, and to help them guide with it. You are bound every now and then to feel fatigue. Take a break. It could be a half day, full day. It's okay. All of you back each other up, and whenever you feel one of your colleagues is struggling, let them take a break. If you feel that your sleep-awake pattern has been affected, understand sleep has been affected by most people, primarily because our lifestyle has drastically changed. And it's quite okay if that has also happened. Just make sure you cut down on caffeine as far as possible. You have a nice night routine with your hot shower, milk, some chamomile tea, listening to light music, reading a bit, doing some unwinding activity, no mobile, no streaming, no gadgets, at least before sleep time. That will really help you, relax yourself. And reading is really, really effective as a distractor from thoughts which are preoccupying our minds. If you are struggling, you must absolutely non-negotiable, must talk to someone, share it out, so that you will be able to find that support, and you'll be able to come over a hurdle that may happen every now and then. If you experience loss of any kind, give yourself more time. Any form of loss that we are experiencing, directly, indirectly, at a closer level, at a distant level, but we are experiencing it. So our bereavements, our loss ourselves, but we keep our family and our support system as close by as possible, because individual and collective grief experiences are happening constantly. So you take care and we take care of each other. That's how you ensure that you are hydrating well, eating well, and that you yourself, when you have these chain of thoughts which are filled with uncertainty, whether it's about your family, about your students, it's about your own self or health, what you do, You accept what you can't control, the external locus of control, and you work within what you can do, which is the here and now. In a pandemic, every time somebody asks me how you are doing, I say, fine as of now, one day at a time. We all need to go one day at a time. One day at a time, we break the chain. We work hard. We start waiting for the fall in the numbers to happen. And we have an internal celebration that, yes, together we are doing this and it's coming down. All of us are COVID warriors. All of us. Whoever we are, sitting in our house, working, wherever you are, we're all in this together. Any one of us crossing a line, any one of us panicking actually increases the strength of the virus. While we take care of our own self, we don't overdo it, we don't hoard. We don't hoard meds, we don't hoard oxygen. We don't worry about what if I get the illness in a few weeks' time. We worry about those who are ill right now should get the best possible, earliest possible intervention. But I also feel strengthening is not an isolated process. Strengthening has a collective process to it too, where the whole community comes together. And how do you do that? I said this to medical students yesterday. I've been saying this to medical colleagues for a long time, and I'm saying this now to all you educationists. Please be active on all communication channels. Social media is not just for the young. Social media is for everybody because that's where a lot of communication is happening. So that's where a war is being fought between correct information and incorrect information, negativity and positivity. And that also has a role in strengthening not just ourselves, but the society. So all people with knowledge should share knowledge. All people should become more responsible and media literate. So when you get a message from an unverified source, you don't forward it. When you get it from a verified source, which is helping people fight better, you share it. You have a presence on social media so that you amplify the right words and we drown the negativity. And I think that's something very important. We don't reject something because we may like or not like it. We all need to use all forms of communication because strengthening of the self is not an isolated process if the societal strengthening is also not happening. And right now, societal weakening is happening because a lot of negative noise, incorrect information gets the better of us, increases our panic, makes us make errors in our judgment, which is not healthy for us individuals, our families, or the society. So that also is a role you play. You have mindful experiences, you have your own spiritual experiences, you give yourself the time for your own self, you take care of your family, your friends, your colleagues, your well-wishers, but you stay strong. So Saturday strong, or as Macmillan has put this, stay strong Saturdays. We need the educational system to be as strong as it could be because it's on the pillar of education that we shape the future. And in these difficult times, we look up to you to still bring the hope, the optimism, that the innocent laughter of children, the dreams of children, they continue to fly and fly in a way that we have a better version of our own selves in years to come because we've learned a lot, haven't we, together? We've learned a lot. It's now time to implement what we've learned. Before I start taking questions from all of you, I want to once again thank all the teachers across the length and breadth of our country who've done the most remarkable work in these times. To me, you will be frontline warriors. And a lot of gratitude on behalf of everybody that you are shaping our future and keeping our children positive. Feel free to share in your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Parekh. So there are a few questions on the chat box. I'm just reading out to you. There is an educator, Madhuri Singh. Ma'am says that this pandemic, children are spending more time in mobile and TV. So how can we increase them, to have an inclination towards yoga and exercises?
Two aspects. I think first of all, our goal needs to be very different and our priority needs to be very clear. For me, the priority of children at this moment in time is that they need to be cheerful, engaged, not anxious. And I think that is something very, very important. So yes, if children will do a little bit of more video games or a little bit of more games and a little bit of more mobile, right now I'm okay with it. Yes, I may use the same mobile to add some physical activity, do some Zumba with them, do some yoga with them. Then okay, let's all of us do it together. I can do that. But right now in priority, digital detox is not top of the notch for me because it's digital interface which is keeping everything going for them. They talk to their friends through it, they study through it, they do their homework through it, their entertainment is happening through it. I want children within indoors of home safe, away from the virus. That's the important thing, and I want them cheerful. So right now, the priority will be different. Maybe when COVID is gone, and I hope it's gone the moment this workshop's over. I really, really hope, the eternal optimistic utopian self, never lose it, because that sometimes helps you keep going.
Thank you, sir. Sonia Sharma ma'am says that please suggest some books we can suggest to students to increase positivity and resilience in them.
So, ma'am, my thought around this is we should encourage children to read. I don't think specific books will increase positivity or resilience. Reading would. And the more lateral your reading list becomes, the better your mind grows. So from travelogues to biographies, from history to fiction, from non-fiction to self-help, all of that has a role to play. We should encourage children to read. I think that's the key here. Okay, I think I have a question. I can read it from Sandhya Tiwari ma'am. That how can we improve writing skills of students?
Yes.
I really appreciate this question. It reminds me of my English teacher. Actually, both my teachers, my English and Hindi teachers. And if my English teacher would have seen the messages that we shared today, young people share, where they spell U as a Y-O-U is spelled as the letter U, or an and is spelled as the letter N. And I actually have a few colleagues who actually, instead of laughing, just say lol. That's what is happening to modern day language. And you know how I mean, I'm quite worried about it actually. We've actually started getting CVs and official mails where the abbreviations and these completely grammatically all over the place kind of things are happening, only because young people don't realize that once the communication style becomes a part of how they communicate, they may not be able to compartmentalize where and how. So yes, I think we should encourage children to write a lot, and not just write, communicate a lot. So it could also be a social media communication of 140 characters. It could also be something which is more prolonged, like longer, like an essay. It could be using your own thoughts. It could be writing summaries. But our tasks that we give children should help them explore their mind and express their language as best as they can.
Thank you, sir. So Mansi Bhatia asked the questions how to engage a hyperactive child.
Physical activity, that's very important. Allow the hyperactive child to run about, jump about here and there, it's okay. And a bit of racquetball on the wall, allowing some space to run, shorter spurts of tasks. So whether it is academics or anything, do some board games, dance movement, music, art, all of these, but keep doing different things and keep giving short spurts, and that will help the child.
Thanks, sir. So Ratna Bhattacharya has a very practical question. She says that with the absence of maids got us really busy, our children are not getting that much attention, especially the little ones. Kindly advise.
Well, let's be honest about it. We are not in an ideal situation. We are in a tough situation. We all have our work from home. We also have other responsibilities. We have to take care of the household as well. There are other things happening, lots of things we can and we can't do. There are way too many things happening in this situation. There will be times that you may not be able to on that particular day give the kind of time you would like to give your children. You accept it, you optimize it. When you do, you ensure that it's quality in a way that it's meaningful. But you also understand that there are limitations that the pandemic is putting on us. Don't allow self-guilt to happen.
Okay, sir. So Ashok Parikh says that is it right to take online classes for pre-primary, primary, and up middle class? If yes, then how much time is suitable for them as per their health and mental well-being?
So my take on this is that the younger the children are, the purpose of online classes needs to become about routine and fun and stimulation, less about academics. So it's not about how many and what, it's about, it needs to be a fun experience for them. It should not feel like a task, a burdening of sorts for them. It needs to be a place where they can have more peer engagement and very stimulatory kind of activity related work to be done. Senior students, yes, you feel free to have your academics as well.
So, Suman Himanshu Shah with folded hands has sent a question that what plannings we can take forward to engage children in this pandemic apart from study material stuffs. As you know that kids are far away from the outdoor activities and they're also getting irritated. Can you please help me out of this?
Creative pursuits. You try and encourage children to read books and share stories. You try and ask children to write stories of experiences that they've read or heard. You ask them to use a lot of art, music. So you utilize creativity and expressive arts to engage children here, because you would not be able to use outdoor activities. Children may struggle, but I must also put this very clearly, that in my experience that I've been interacting for the past year and a half with schools and academicians and children and adults across all strata, I have realized that children have probably handled the pandemic better than any other population. Something that we can learn from them. I think their optimism beats our cynicism any day.
Sir Noor Panjwani says that how can we motivate children to respect parents during these days?
Sorry, I couldn't hear your last part.
He says that how can we motivate children to respect parents?
Respect is a cycle actually that is learned through observation more often than not. The respect that we give children and the respect that children give us largely is reciprocated. If we feel a child has crossed the line, then you sit with the child, explain them why what they did was not right, how it may be hurtful, how it could be changed, and then when they change their behavior, again sit with them, thank them for the change in that behavior, but continue to be role models here. Because a lot of times we as adults cross lines, and this is not about us being at home and crossing lines, it's also about the exposure of adults that happens through media. So children have these vectors which they keep observing, which also have an impact. That's why the key caregivers, the key support systems, which is teachers, seniors, family and relatives, their role modeling of the right behavior is very, very important.
So next question says that children and teachers both are missing writing practice. What and how to go for it, sir?
Yeah, I agree. I think we should encourage writing a lot more. And like I said earlier, give some out of the box writing exercises to children where they can express it. I think I do agree that we need to ensure that both reading and writing continue to be important parts of a child's growing, because these are essential ways in which you express your mind.
Sir, some of the parents do not agree for the online classes for the pre-primary. So teachers are concerned that even a bit of, if it happens, how can we make parents
let's be very clear about it. Like I said, when I say pre-primary, my only purpose is that if a because children may not also find, they also need stimulation. They have their own boredom. They would also need a task and activity. Pre-primary, if you are doing online engagement, it needs to be only on the lines of stimulation. It should be for children whose parents are comfortable with it. And if parents are available to children in families where parents have time or there are more people at home. And if those pre-primary children are not going to online, that's fine because they are still having the stimulation. Our goal needs to be to stimulate children. Now, whether that can happen in the home environment, perfect. Then you don't do the online class with that particular kid. But at the same time, given how all of us have some routines that are around us that we have to take care of, so a few hours, even if it is a half an hour, 2 times a day or something like that, where some kind of stimulatory activity happens, stimulation could be cognitive, social, emotional. It could even be doing some physical activity together, right? All of that is stimulation. I'm not talking about academics, be very clear about it. For me, it's about routine, normalcy, peer engagement, recreation, stimulation. These things matter as younger, we talk about younger children.
So Kalpana Patel says that how can we motivate to class 12 students during pandemic? They were worried about their percentage.
Class 12 is so old enough that they will listen to each other a lot more than they listen to us. We don't need to motivate. We just need to remind them that they're brilliant, they're bright, and they should continue to put in effort because this is the path to their own success. That's the only way to look at it. And 12th class students will have to realize that every 12th class student is in the same boat. Don't personalize the pandemic. Continue to work hard. It's a tough one on you, and I completely understand that. But you do what you can do, which is study. What you can't do is know when is what going to change and how it's going to change. None of us knows that. So because we don't know that, don't think about it. Just focus on your own self right now in terms of what you can do.
Agreed, sir. Sir, there is 2-3 questions by the same question that parents somehow are not recognizing the efforts of the teachers.
So I think I would not make it into a parent and teacher conversation. I've always believed that parents and teachers are in the same team and they're both cheering for the same individual success, and that can never change. That bond is unique. It's not a football match and parents and teachers are not on the opposite side. I think society needs to understand and respect the role of teachers. Worldwide teacher attrition, teacher burnout is a concern, and it's important that we realize that what kind of a world would there be if the teaching community wouldn't do what they do. I mean, how can there be anything except gratitude?
So Naseem Sayed says that nowadays children are getting more closer to the words like corona, death, not well, hospitalization, no hope to survive, etc., etc. All negative words they are familiar with. It's becoming very difficult to keep them away. What can we do? And especially for the kids with the age group of 4 to 6 years, and they ask a little bit of questions also related to the situation they are facing at their homes, or probably listening to from the relatives.
Honest answers based on the child's ability to understand is what every child deserves. We can't deny reality. So yes, if there is a loss in the family, you can't not tell that child. Child may understand based on their age in a different manner. That's a separate issue. But you also need to understand, which is where you as all of us, you, me, everybody, that yes, children are exposed to these words. These words will have a learning of their own, but we also need to ensure that children are also exposed to the positive words, inspirational stories, altruism, values, which are also happening all around us day in and day out. We just need to ensure that those stories also reach children. And if you have those stories, share them with me. The reason I started these positive stories at 9 p.m. every evening was only because of this reason. I think we are just noticing the negative a lot too more and not realizing that at every corner there is an immensely inspirational story that's happening right now as we speak, that people are supporting each other and being there for each other. And I think that's what we want children to learn as well.
Sorry, so the story of positivities do make a difference. So there is a question by Mr. Ashok Parikh. He says that when we continue our classes online and we make the best of the efforts, even then the children don't feel a connect and they never make an attachment. It may be a device, a network, a family background, whatever it is. How can we ensure they connect with us?
No, but that's a fact, isn't it? I mean, we will not be able to substitute real time by online time. I mean, how's that even possible? So we are doing what we can do at best. I mean, if we function at 50-60% functionality, I think that's also remarkable given the circumstances. And the only way to have a little bit more connect is to be able to find time to talk to children about other things beyond academics every time you get an opportunity, so that the relatableness, that relatedness is also there. I think that's the only way to look at it. But no matter what we say, how much engaged can you be with the screen? It's a person that counts.
So most of the things happening online, how can we make sure the holistic development of the child other than the studies happening online?
No, right now we need to understand that we need children to be stimulated to the best, as holistic as it is possible within the dimensions of what we are functioning in. The same online, which could have been a bigger concern, has also right now been our safeguard, where we've been able to manage, which means we were able to give children some stimulation, engagement, social, cognitive, academic, all of that. We've been able to do that. Right now, our doing that in itself is nothing short of a miracle. We should just continue to do that. Accept it that this is not the best solution, but then in an unprecedented circumstances that we continue to be for over a year, we are doing what we can do as best as adults and individuals, whether it is teachers, parents, everybody.
So next question by Swati Chauhan. How to handle the situation when a child lost his family member during this pandemic?
Grief is a very, very, very personal experience. There can't be do's and do nots. There can't be tips and quick fixes. Grief is grief. A loss is a loss. The one thing that we can do, which we should do, is ensure that we gather around and be the right support system, that individuals don't feel isolated in their experience of grief. But grief is very, very personal. There is nothing one can say or do that can take away the experience of a loss of a loved one. All one can do is be there, be there emotionally, be there. If you are there, that's the one strength that the individual will be able to work with. And time does what time does, but grief is a personal experience, and I don't think there are do's and do nots for that.
Right, sir. Sir, the educator says that most of the time the students, no matter how much they motivate them, they encourage them, the students avoid taking online classes and play on doodling and some other games. How to overcome that?
That's okay. They'll sometimes want to attend because they might be bored doodling, and they'll sometimes get bored here and they'll do that. They'll switch in between both. But yes, if children consistently get bored by the way we are teaching, we could probably just change ourselves also a little bit. Like I said, engage with reality while talking to them. That's also education. How do you deal with the pandemic? How are you seeing people work? How are you dealing with this? When you heard this, what did you feel? How did you react? Those are also learnings.
Right. So Ms. Amrita Wali says that sometimes people use words against teachers in front of the students because of that students are not giving respect to the teachers. How to handle such delicate?
I would ignore anything that happens in the public domain. And then whoever is the individual who's crossed a line, I'll have a one-on-one conversation with the individual, make them understand the importance of maintaining dignity in communication. But I would not react in a public forum.
So how to make children confident and fearless during this pandemic?
They see us. They see us. How we react, they see us. When we were not wearing masks, they thought masks were not important. If they see us following COVID appropriate behavior, they'll understand the importance of it. If we stay strong, if we stay resilient, we stay positive, we don't panic, we don't cross a line, they will not learn to do it. This is on us. We need to be the role models.
So Shweta says that sometimes students do not respond to the questions, even asked multiple times, and avoid. They just kept themselves on mute and avoid the questions. What to do?
Nothing, that's okay. This could have been a classroom and the child might have been not very attentive at that time, and it happens. Like I said, this is not an ideal situation. There are no ideal ways to ensure 100% attendance by 100% students for 100% time. How's that possible? There'll be lapses, and that's okay. You don't get rattled or angry by it. If it happens too often with the same child, do a one-on-one with the child, explain to the child how one can work best. And that's about it.
Okay. So Sridhar Ramachandran says that how to overcome psychopandemic of corona. Please address to develop corona-resistant mind.
I think it comes down to all of us. We misbehaved between the two waves. We left our guard. We socialized. We went for weddings and parties and functions. We did not use our masks. We broke all possible rules that were there. Children learned. Now, if we break rules by hoarding, by panicking, by keeping oxygen in our home even when there is nobody ill, children will learn something that you don't want them to learn. So if you show resilience, if you show optimism and positivity, if you show values, children will understand that. And I think the pandemic has taught us a lot. Minimalistic living, living within limits, doing things by our own selves, understanding the importance of true relationships, understanding that social media can actually be used for social causes, understanding that we can all adapt collectively and try and work together as a society in spite of individual differences. We've learned how frontline workers and healthcare workers have worked at the cost of their own families and lives. We have been inspired by the way people have handled. So it's the way we look at it and the way we talk about it. Our conversations, our narratives need to be on the lines of learning. That's how you build a resilient future.
So Anupama Gaur says that how the students will select the stream once the class 10 board exams have been cancelled and on certain formulas they have been promoted to class 11th.
I am not a very firm believer on 10th exam results should decide on the stream. I think children should be allowed to pick what they want. That's how I've always believed in. This is an opportunity to do what they want. And I hope in the future we come out of these needs of combination, which children should pick up whatever subjects they like. And I know we are moving towards that. I hope that happens soon.
So in the beginning of your speech, you said that there has to be stories of positivity, even if it take 10 minutes of time. And there is a question related by Kalpana ma'am. She says that during online classes, only half of the students joining, we can't be satisfied ourselves. Please suggest some more of the interactive suggestions so that we can implement during classes. Some more of
So don't start
suggestions.
start your class with the academic thing. You will need to cut down on your academic discussion and pre and post, or at least pre, have a lot of time where you talk about how was the yesterday. Does anybody have something to share? Or has somebody learned something, somebody tried something new, somebody did something different. First 5, 7, 10 minutes should be only about that. Once your acads are done, if you're giving some task, let the task be more relatable and also involve real-time learning about dealing in situations like this. Children are learning disaster management, first-hand experience, right? They are learning how crisis management happens, first-hand experience again. So as educationists, you need to be a part of this learning that children are having. And you can't be teaching something which is not also something that they are able to understand in the given context of time. And I think that relatedness is something that we need to look upon.
So any motivational tips for the students so that when they take exams online, they do not cheat?
My take on this, and I always tell students, is that I'm a believer of open book tests also. I'm a believer of fun tests also. I'm a believer of quizzes. I believe tests need to be different, change, surprise. All of that needs to happen. We need to enjoy being tested. And I've always told this to children. I mean, you know better than anybody else. How have you done what you've done? So even if you cross the line today and you got a couple of marks more, that opportunity may not come again. So being dishonest to one's own self is just not going to be good for your own future. And that's the truth. And these are things that young people need to learn as they grow up, that there are no shortcuts in life.
So there are also some questions related to loss of appetite, overeating, how to curb these two things. Some of them have lost appetite while some of them are overeating.
Both are reactions, and it's quite okay unless it's really, really harming the child's health. And if it's the case, then just do a course correction. Otherwise, some days it's happening to us also. Some days you eat better, some days you don't, some days you feel like having something um, that may not be most nutritious. And some days you are back on it. It's staying within indoors for such a long time is not an easy thing for anybody. So we will have some of these ups and downs in most aspects of our behavior. You accept them unless it becomes a pattern of concern. You accept it.
Amrita Wali ma'am says that she knows that some of the parents are writing down the answers on behalf of the students. How to do that?
Ma'am, what can I say for that? Abhi, I was just telling that children need to be honest with their own selves because this is their test. If they've picked something from here or there in the future, is going to hurt them. I'm sure parents understand this better than anybody else. That if you write for your child today, you aren't going to be there tomorrow for a higher exam, and children should not learn shortcuts. We all owe it to children that they don't learn shortcuts. That's not fair. It's not ethical. It's we want a value-based society where our children are able to live in a fair world, and fairness starts from our own self.
What to do with the college going students, sir?
Same. College going students should continue studying. They should do reference books. They should pick up some online courses. They should try and develop some new hobbies. They should keep in touch with their friends. They should use social media for a cause. They should try and support senior citizens around their homes. They should become more socially responsible and continue to pursue their academics in the given situation.
Despite of doing sometimes all the options available and being suggested, there is a development of low self-esteem and confidence. How to tackle that?
A lot of self-esteem issues happen when we get into comparisons, directly or indirectly. Directly, if we compare ourselves to somebody else. Indirectly, if somebody is significant around us starts comparing us to somebody else. So, and that's the core of low self-esteem. If you learn to appreciate what you are good at, if you learn to celebrate your successes, if you learn and appreciate when you have good moments, you'll be able to deal with the not so good moments as well. Both compliments and criticism of the self in a healthy manner is how you shape a confident self.
How to handle mood swings and anger in teenagers?
You let them be. One day they'll be very cheerful. A teenager can switch between a 5-year-old needing the attention and pampering to a 25-year-old wanting complete self space, and then somewhere in between. You let them be. Don't push, don't nag, don't over expect. Let them be.
So Meghna Vijay Ragja says that suggest any ideas for increasing the class strength for attending the classes regularly.
If it's fun, they'll be here. If they find meaning, they'll be here. If they feel they can manage by not being here, they won't be here.
There are a lot of sleep issues happening, sir.
Yes, to all of us, because our physical activity is down and the nature of fatigue is much different. We are doing way too much digital interface that also interferes with our sleep. My suggestion to people is cut off on caffeine, do some physical activity, make sure you do it, some breathing relaxation exercises, hot shower, hot milk, or chamomile tea kind of relaxing ritual at bedtime, a 40-45 minute gap between the last digital interface and going to the bed, reading with light instrumental music or light music that you like, and keeping a fixed wake up time. You do all of this, you'll sleep better.
Sir, how is the right amount of time for the online classes for pre-primary children? I mean,
like I said, there is no
2.5
definition of time. It's about stimulation. Child should be stimulated, feel engaged, have fun. There should be no fatigue and no pressure. Time doesn't matter here, but obviously in short spurts.
Kavita Singh ma'am is again emphasizing that many parents keep on asking how to develop the writing skills as they write slowly. Again, would like to answer this, sir.
Like I said, you give more tasks. You give writing tasks which should be clicked and PDF'd and not typed. I think we should encourage that. Without a doubt, we should do
that. There is a just comment by Kalpana Patel, ma'am. Being a social teacher, she herself used best methods to interact with the subjects, but still want to apply some more kind of a tricks on a student so that they will develop more interest, especially during the online classes.
It's not about
kudos to you, ma'am.
It's
You are
not
doing
about-
already a good job.
Yeah, it's not about tricks. You're doing a remarkable job. You know better than anybody else how to engage children who've been with you for such a long time. There are no tricks and tips. I mean, be yourself, be empathetic, be compassionate, back your commitment. You'll do a great job, which you've been doing. Just continue doing it.
It's very natural. Sonia Sharma, ma'am, she says that the teachers are given, they are giving their 100% for online classes, but the results of the students are still very slow, and the students are not valuing the efforts.
Results don't matter here. I don't think results matter. And I'm sure all of us have understood in the last 1 year that right now results don't matter. What matters is that we are able to maintain normalcy of children so that long-term impact of being in a pandemic they don't experience in their growing years. That's the only goal that we have.
Thank you, sir. So there aren't many questions coming up, sir. I think there was a lot of tips and safety measures being given by you. Hello, Suruchi, am I audible?
Yes, Mitchell, you're audible.
Sir, am I audible to you? I can't see any more questions coming in the chat box.
Yeah.
So we can, thank you so much, sir. This was a very wonderful session, and I'm sure that all those who have joined this webinar through the social media platform of Macmillan Education and Fortis Healthcare would have been immensely benefited. We'll be looking forward to your next webinar on coming Saturday. Dear educators, I'm sure that you had a lot of takeaways from today's sessions on how to strengthen yourself in these times of crisis. Thank you so much for joining us in this webinar. To provide your feedback and comments on this session at Macmillan Education Facebook page, please take all the precaution and stay safe. Wishing all of you a very happy weekend. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Parekh.
Thank you. Thank you.